Hello and welcome to the MB Om podcast, where you will learn to master the business of yoga with guests from around the world who have experienced becoming successful yoga teachers, studio owners, and much more. Now, here's your host, Amanda Kingsmith.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MBOM podcast. I'm super excited to be chatting with Susanne Reiker today, who is my first German guest that I've had on the show. But Susanne and I met while we were both in Ubud in Bali. I connected with her via social media. I'd been following her at Happy Yoga Travels for a while, and I saw that she was in Bali and messaged her being like, hey, we should hang out. So we grabbed breakfast and we chatted about all things business of yoga related, and it's just super inspiring to chat with somebody who is so interested in the business side of yoga, because I'm really passionate about that, but then who also has this background in digital marketing that I don't have. And so Susanne is here today to talk about all things digital marketing, including newsletters, websites, social media, and so much more. She's also launching a really cool challenge next week, which I'm going to be a part of, and I hope that you can join in too. So we'll have the link for that a little bit later in the show. But for now, here's Susanne, and I hope you enjoy the interview. I'm super excited to be joined today by Susanne, who I had the pleasure of meeting while I was in Bali. Susanne is German originally, but currently calls Bali home, but is joining us from Vietnam. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today, Susanne. It's great having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we've got lots of topics to cover today, so I'm super excited to dive in. I always like to start interviews kind of giving a background of how people got into yoga. So can you share a little bit about your yoga story and how you first started practicing and teaching yoga?
Yes, of course. I actually got really into yoga on my first yoga retreat. So I think that's probably around 10 years ago. And before that, I just did a few classes in a fitness studio, and I didn't really get into it because, you know, there's like many people and you have no idea what you're doing. So when I did a yoga retreat, and that was 1 week, for beginners, it was perfect. It was on Ibiza, and I totally loved it. It saved my life because I was so stressed at work. And, and since then I had my ups and downs with yoga, like phases where I did more and then I did less. And then I did my yoga teacher training, 3-4 years ago. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And then did you start teaching right away?
After my yoga teacher training, I went back to Germany and I started teaching my friends. So we did like a weekly session every weekend. We met at one of my friends' apartments or houses, so we could do living room yoga. And it was really fun. We did that for 3 months every single weekend. It was so great. So that was a really great practice.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's like one of those new trends, kind of like goat yoga or, you know, heavy metal yoga. It's like living room yoga.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was also great because everybody's so busy to have this time to connect. So we always had like a tea afterwards or a coffee, and yeah, so it was really nice. And then I went back to Bali again, and then we stopped. And then when I went back to Germany, always only for a few months, and we didn't really get into it. So those 3 first months were really special for me. And then I was teaching a little bit in Bali, just subbing a few classes and teaching on the Gili Islands, and then in Cambodia and the Philippines. So I got a little bit into it. This life, I decided that's not really my lifestyle at the moment. So at the moment, I'm not teaching yoga, but hopefully I will get back to it one day. And I'm just focusing on deepening my yoga practice and practicing yoga. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I love that. It was interesting when we met up in Bali talking to you a little bit how difficult it is actually to teach in Indonesia as a foreigner. Have they cracked down on the rules since you were able to teach?
From what I heard, it got a lot more difficult, definitely. So you're not even allowed to volunteer anymore and work for free. So it's nearly impossible and very, very expensive to get a work visa. So one of the reasons why I'm not really teaching in Bali at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm curious because like one of the things that when I found you on social media, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so like aligned with things that I do on the business side of yoga, which is why I was so keen to meet up with you while I was there. I'm curious, at what point did you decide, like, I want to start a business kind of doing, social media marketing for yoga teachers and helping teachers with the business side of their businesses?
I kind of evolved to it. So, I started my first online business in 2013, Yovunga. It's a yoga retreat directory website where I got paid by the retreat organizers for the listings on my website. And that started really, really strong and well, and then it got slowed down. So I didn't really take it serious enough, I think. I think I treated it as a hobby. So that's one of the reasons why it slowed down. And I started learning a lot and teaching myself a lot about online business, because it's very different from what I did in my former professional life. So I was working in digital agencies for over, 15 years or something. Makes me sound really old. And but it was always for really big clients like Procter & Gamble or Coca-Cola or Daimler Chrysler. So it's a very different approach than what you do like for your own little online business. So I had to learn a lot of new tactics and approaches there, and all the tools that are available today, like with WordPress and lead pages or email tools. So all this stuff we didn't even have a few years ago. So yes, and then I really started to love building websites and trying to build my tribe on social media, and then I think 2 years ago, last year ago, I think I probably started, I have to do this for yoga teachers. So I want to combine this. I realized I was really passionate about online marketing and digital marketing, and I want to combine it with the yoga world. So I don't know really where the idea came from. It was just suddenly there. Yeah.
I love that. And so it's been 2 years since you started your online business?
No, 2013 in January. So, 4 years, more than 4 years, with my first one. And then I started Happy Yoga Travels, which started more as a personal travel blog. And then I merged those two pages. So it's only Happy Yoga Travels now, where I have yoga retreats and I share like travel stories and tips and insights. And then I started Happy Yoga Marketing. Yes, I know it's a very stupid name, but it just fits with Happy Yoga Travels. So it's easy to remember. And,
I kind of like it.
I kind of like it too.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I feel like it makes me smile, like Happy Yoga Marketing. I'm into that.
Yeah, and because I don't want it to be too serious, like if life is serious enough, I want it to be a little bit of fun and light, and I want to encourage like yoga teachers or other entrepreneurs and give them confidence, and so they feel more comfortable with their online marketing and don't feel like they have no idea. And it's all those beliefs that we have, and we know how to handle these beliefs. Like in yoga, we learn that, but sometimes we don't really use that for stuff like that. So people tell me, they don't know anything about, they're not techie. So, and it's not rocket science, like it's not, of course you have to learn a little bit, but it's might not be as difficult as you think it is. So that's my approach to encourage yoga teachers.
Yeah, I like that it's like the name makes it feel a little bit more fun, because I feel like marketing almost becomes this it's like, oh, it's the M word. Like we can't talk about it. We're just not going to do it. I don't know anything about it. It's like, oh, websites. I don't know anything about building a website. I'm just not going to do it. And if you just learn a little bit about software, you can make a website that's completely functional. If you just learn a little bit about marketing and social media, you can make your business thrive a lot more online.
I know, exactly. And it's not about selling out or about, so ripping your students off and just getting their money or something. And I think it's more about creating value and building trust and then reaching the right people that you can truly help with your products and services.
Yeah, I like those tips. I think that that's really, really helpful. And then what types of stuff do you talk about on your website? Like, what are some of your articles or tips that you give yoga teachers?
Well, I have stuff about how to build your website, about social media, about newsletters. So, for example, you could learn strategies to increase your Facebook reach and boost your yoga business, principles of web design you need to know, strategies to grow your Instagram followers. So, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you share a few of those tips with us?
Sure. Which topic are you interested in?
Let's start with websites.
Websites. Maybe mistakes to avoid on your website.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, okay. I have one thing. So I see this quite often. Have you seen this before? That the website owner assumes that the visitors know where they are based. So you visit a blog or you stumble on something through social media. And then you see that they're offering a workshop and you're interested, but you have no idea where it's taking place, where this person is based. So adding a location, adding information about your location, that's a must. So maybe, I don't know why, but a lot of people forget that.
That's so interesting. I'm just trying to think if my website has where I'm based, which, I mean, I'm constantly on the move, but like that's such a great thing to think about because we know where we are at all times, but we don't think about all the people who don't have any idea who we are. We're like, where is this person in the world?
I mean, of course, it's especially important when you have a local business, and then you want to make sure that like when someone Googles yoga and your city, that you show up in the results. So definitely, and that means adding your location, maybe even more than just once, within the whole copy of your website.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great tip.
And okay, many people know this already, but forgetting about mobile is still a big thing. So I don't know, when I look at my website stats, I think I have now more traffic from mobile users than from desktop users. So you have to make sure that your website is mobile friendly and looks good on a smartphone or on a tablet.
Yeah, that's been a big thing for a couple of years, I think, but it's still easy to forget about it, especially if you're doing your website on your computer. It's so easy to just be like, oh, it looks so great on my, 13-inch MacBook Pro. But then remembering that so many people are finding your website or clicking through on from social media while they're on their commutes using their phones and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Another thing is having too much clutter on your website. So having too much content on your website and it looks really cluttered. Well, just like a room full of yoga mats, blocks, and other props scattered around. So that doesn't really invite calmness, and that's true for the web too. So don't be afraid to use a lot of white space, and that's like free space between images and copy, and so you have to be more generous with the space on your website.
Yeah, I think it's easy to think that you have to kind of pile everything on or like that you have lots to say and to share it all on one page. But remembering that you can create more than one page for people to click through and that sort of thing that's a good reminder. Do you want to share your top tips for social media?
Okay, social media. The most important thing at the moment, oh my God, and I'm so bad at this myself, but there's just no way around it in 2017, and that's video.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, are you doing Facebook Live?
No, not for MBOM. My boyfriend and I run a travel podcast as well, and we've kind of delved into Facebook Live with that, but I haven't for MBOM yet. I think it's less scary being two people. I'm like, I can do it with him. So if I figure out that there's nothing that I have to say, he can just take over, even though it's not that scary. But.
Yeah, but it's like you get more reach on Facebook, especially if you do Facebook Live. So you get automatically more organic reach because, everybody knows your Facebook page and you post something and only a very, very small percentage of people liking your page actually sees your post. So, and with video, that percentage is automatically much, much higher. And also I think people are really liking it and expecting it now. It makes you so much more relatable. And on Instagram too. I'm not a big fan of Instagram stories, but I think sometimes it's interesting to see the Instagram story from a person that otherwise has this perfect feed with this beautiful pictures and everything so carefully curated. And Instagram stories, they give a much truer picture of this person. So you get the person suddenly becomes more real, and that builds trust. And that really, really will help your relationship and building your tribe.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a good point.
So, as I said, I'm still working up to it too, but one day.
Do you think if you're a yoga studio, it's like you could share things like your schedule or upcoming workshops or retreats, or like actually doing practices with people live? Like, what do you think it is that people are looking for on Facebook Live?
I saw an example of a Pilates studio who did a Facebook Live of their grand opening. And then I also saw Facebook Lives of meditation classes or like a peek into a class. So that's an option. Definitely people would love that. Or if you have a yoga studio, you could do a tour of your studio. And the beautiful thing about Facebook Live, it's not only there the moment you're broadcasting it live. So, but it's also going to be there on your page, forever to see if you choose to. So you don't have to, but it can be there. So if you do this Facebook Live one time of your studio, it's going to be on your page and all the people visiting your page can see the video.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense.
So yeah, I think it's great for events. It's great to answer questions, do some Q&A sessions. It's a great to just, if you are good at talking like that and sharing insights. What I'm going to do probably is just do some Q&A sessions, just like, use Facebook Live to answer 3 questions on a topic in online marketing. So that's the plan. And it's definitely going to happen in the next weeks. Very careful weeks.
weeks or so.
Month.
Yeah, I'm going to have to brainstorm some stuff to do on Facebook Live as well. I feel a bit intimidated by it, but I've seen people doing it and I definitely think that there's value in it. And like you said too, I think that it's really important for people to understand who's behind a Facebook page or an Instagram post, because that's how they connect with you. They realize that you're a real person going through real things just like they are. And that can be super, super helpful for both parties.
Exactly. Another thing that's really important is reliability and consistency. So to use, for example, Facebook to keep your yoga students up to date and what's going on. So consistently post class schedules and events and workshops. That's because even when they don't see all those updates in their feed, they'll visit your page when they're looking for specific information. So if they know that they'll find it there. So, but you have to be consistent. So otherwise people won't bother visiting your page again. So your Facebook page. Because if you go there and you see the latest post with the schedule is from, 6 months ago, you're probably not going to go back. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it makes me think about, because I travel so much, I do a lot of research about yoga studios to go to and that sort of thing via online research, or even restaurants is another example, but yoga studios is more relevant to this conversation. It's, you look them up and if I haven't seen a post for a number of months, I kind of wonder
if they're
what's
still
going
open.
on. Like if they don't have a website that has a clear up-to-date schedule. Yeah, totally. And then I usually don't go there, to be honest. If I haven't seen something that's recent,
so you don't
I
have
probably
to post
won't go.
like 10 times a day or something, but once a day, is great, twice a day on Facebook. And I recommend to schedule your post, like, plan like 2 hours at the beginning of each week to find your content and then post it. And then on Facebook, it allows you to schedule your post on the Facebook page directly. So you don't need a separate tool or app for that. You can do it directly in Facebook. And then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good idea.
The same applies for Instagram. I actually prepare all my Instagram images on my computer, and then I transfer them back to my phone on iTunes. But doesn't really matter. You can also prepare them on your phone. There are such great apps. For example, I love VSCO. But try to do it in batches. So block some time once a week to prepare your posts for the next week. So you can use an app for that, but you don't have to. So I just have the images, and then I prepare sometimes a little bit of copy and save it in a note on my phone. And then it's just going to take a minute each day to post something on Instagram.
Yeah, it actually saves so much time, because so much of the process of posting on Instagram, especially as a business, is like, oh, it's been, 3 days since I've posted. Okay, what should I talk about? Okay, this topic might be relevant. Okay, now what photo is going to go with it? And it's this whole decision-making process where you have to decide all these different things and then put it together. But if you, at the beginning of the week, just kind of get on this roll doing it, you can do so many in so much less time.
Yes, you're so much more efficient, and otherwise you get lost in this social media rabbit hole. I mean, it happens to all of us, and you're just looking for inspiration and scrolling around, and you can use your time much better sometimes. Yeah.
What do you mean, getting lost on the social media rabbit hole? That never happens to me. Said no one ever.
I spend way too much time on Facebook, especially now that I'm a member now of so many Facebook groups, also about marketing, and for yoga teachers, and they're always like on the top of my feed. And now it's so interesting. There's so many interesting stories and insights, and it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah. I've thought about making separate groups for my own podcasts and my own businesses, because I think that groups do better than pages do. And it's a better way to interact with the people who are actually interested in what your content is. But then I'm a part of so many of them. I'm like, I really enjoy being a part of other people's. And I feel like there's only so many Facebook groups that you can deal with and actively be a part of if you're going to do that. I know you have your own Facebook group. What's the process like managing that?
At the moment, it's pretty easy. So I use a scheduling tool for social media, Smarter, that I'm reposting your content that you're sharing. I love it. Which means it's automatically reposting 3 posts a week for my Happy Yoga Travels Facebook group. I use that at the moment, asking for special travel deals, asking for pictures of your last yoga vacation, and asking about what's your next dream location, dream destination. So that gets automatically posted and already gets some engagement, and without me having to do anything manually. And then I just go in and posts that other people are posting and commenting, and sometimes sharing interesting stories or articles. And so I am a lot more active than my other group members at the moment, because I just started them. So I'm just starting out, and it's not super active yet, my community, but it's growing a lot. So it's probably going to become more work when it's bigger. Yeah,
definitely. I see so many of the people that I'm in other communities of, and it seems like they're doing a lot of work to keep their community thriving, which I think is super, super cool. But yeah, it's been something that's kind of held me back. I'm like, do I want this other commitment that I have to, make sure that I'm doing stuff for? Which, I mean, saying that out loud, it actually kind of sounds a little bit lazy, which is not how I intended it. But I think that part of this whole social media thing is deciding what's going to be best for you and what's going to be best for your business, because it's really hard to do it all.
That's true. You definitely have to focus.
Yeah. How many like social media platforms do you recommend for somebody? So say like a yoga teacher starting out who is creating their own business and they're like, there's 10 different platforms, how do I choose which one to start on?
It depends, on where your students are. So it depends really a little bit on your situation. But the main one I recommend is to have a Facebook page. So that doesn't mean that you have to be super active there right away, but I would get started with that because Facebook is still where everybody hangs out. So that's, if you would be looking for someone, you probably would look them up on Facebook too. And then I really love Instagram, and there's such a huge yoga and fitness community on Instagram. So, but it might not be the right network for everyone. So, for example, if you're teaching, I don't know, teenagers, yoga for teenagers, and all your teenagers, students, they might probably be on Snapchat. So while if all your students or your clients are a little bit older, they probably are not using Snapchat. So it depends a little bit on that. And then it depends, of course, like on your preferences, what you really enjoy doing as well. For example, I never got Twitter. I don't know why. I really don't like it. I don't know. And I never really got a lot out of it too, probably because I didn't put in enough effort. But that's why I'm not using it. So I have a Twitter account, and at the moment, okay, I'm posting there automatically, but I'm not doing anything beyond that. So it's not really growing. It's just sitting there. Which is fine. So you don't have, so you don't have to worry about it too much, I think. So there are a lot of very successful businesses who had like a Twitter account and their last tweet is 1 year old. So, it's not perfect for sure, but, I wouldn't worry about it too much. So what I recommend is, when you want to grow a social network and really build your tribe, to focus on 1 or 2 social networks at a time to grow them. So, take 4 weeks or 1 month and really focus on those social networks. And that means like posting consistently, creating great content, engaging with your followers, trying to find other people to follow, like other people's content, and really be there. So really enjoy the community aspect. And you can't do that for 4 social networks at the same time unless you do nothing else. So,
yeah, that's a full-time job.
I know. And then when you have like a little bit of a foundation, so you have your base, my Instagram, actually, it's fine if I don't post something for a few days or for a week. Nothing bad is happening. So, and I'm going to go back there. I'm not going to leave it longer than a few days without a post. But if that happens, it's fine. So, so I don't think you have to worry about it too much, but you still have to work on, especially at the beginning, to set your foundation and get your processes in place. So how you're going to update it, what are you going to post, who's really your target group, what's your voice on social media, so do you want to sound like, to get clear on that a little bit before, especially in the beginning, and then you can just, let it grow from there.
Yeah,
Does it make sense?
That's great advice. And yeah, definitely. I think that for sure makes sense to me. It's interesting that you brought up Twitter because my boyfriend and I have talked about perhaps getting rid of our Twitter for our travel podcast because we only auto post to it, and our following is way smaller than Instagram or Facebook where we focus our efforts. And I started a Twitter account for MBO and followed a couple people, not a ton, and I auto post to it, but I've basically done nothing with it. And I think there's 3 people following it. And I was like, I don't even think this looks good on my brand. I should just get rid of this. I don't even know why I have it. I hate Twitter. Why do I even have an account?
Yeah. And I thought the only people following me, when I started it for Yavunga, were, other professionals, but not my target group. So I think, I didn't find people who really want to go on yoga retreats on Twitter. They were just other retreat organizers so it was what's the point?
Yeah. You've just kept your account though and you just auto post?
Yes. yeah, it just has like a few hundred followers.
Okay. You don't think there's harm in just having the account, even though you're not like super
Maybe it's a
active on
harm
it?
for people who are really into. It probably doesn't look for people who are really into Twitter. But I don't know. I don't think it's bad. No, it's the same with Google
Okay.
Plus. A lot of people still have a Google Plus account, and they think it might help with their Google rankings, which I've actually never heard that it really does. I don't really believe that.
Yeah. What's the point of Google Plus?
They wanted it to become like as big as Facebook or beat Facebook, but I think they failed like gloriously.
That's a good way to put that.
And I think Google kind of stopped investing in it too. So they're not really doing anything to grow it anymore. I think there's a lot of techies there. But, yeah, no, I don't use it anymore. I even stopped posting it automatically. I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I think I've just posted a couple times with Google Plus. Like, I think that whenever you have a Gmail account, you kind of automatically get access to Google Plus, and then you can do stuff with it if you want. But I've never really engaged too much with it, just because I feel like it's one of those social media platforms that I just don't really see use in, I guess. I'm curious though.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of the time on, I guess, Instagram specifically, people are paying for programs that will follow or unfollow people for them to grow their following. And I know that there's a lot of them that are being shut down right now. What's sort of your like input on those types of programs, and, how can we use them in kind of an authentic way? Should we not be using them? That sort of thing.
I tried Instagram, which just got shut down, and which I think was like one of the biggest bots. They're called bots out there. So it's Instagram liked posts for me and also commented on posts. And I actually noticed on my Instagram that I have a lot less likes and comments on my posts since Instagram had to stop. I used them. I tried it. It took out all the fun out of it, because when you're using it, you're not supposed to comment and like yourself at the same time, which is like, yeah, but I want to. So, but it worked really well. I actually get good results from it. So I think it depends a little bit on how well you set up your targeting there with this tool, so that they really target people who are your target audience. But I was happy with the followers I got. I didn't use it for commenting so much, more for liking and unliking, and following and unfollowing. I think the commenting really sucks. Like, I have a bot commenting on other people's posts. That's really inauthentic.
Yeah, I think that we all, like, if you have an Instagram, you know what they are. You know which ones they are. Like, they're, the thumbs up, or like, great shot, nice post, beautiful photo. And you're like, that's not you. You don't even know you posted this.
Yes, but I think there are a few alternatives. I didn't really look into it, because I think then if you find an alternative to Instagram and they're going to get big, they're going to get shut down by Instagram as well. I think probably that trend has come and gone. So it's over. People have to do it manually again. Yeah,
I think it's kind of, I don't know how much it's being used in the yoga world, but I know I went to a travel blogging conference in October, and it's like so many people were talking about that. And it's because that's, people use social media numbers to try and work with companies and to get these free trips. And so if I'm like, oh, I have, 600 followers, but I gained them all organically, that doesn't sound as good as I have 25,000 followers, even if you didn't earn them organically. And if you've got a bot like following like 400 people a day. And I don't know, I've kind of tossed it around in my head, is it worth it to do that just to get a massive following? And I think that there's huge benefits in being able to automate things, because social media can be a lot of work. Like, you can spend a lot of time trying to find people. And if you can put in, a profile or be like yoga teachers, find me yoga teachers, follow them, get them interested in my brand, help me find other cool people to follow. I think that's hugely beneficial, but kind of finding that balance between just making it about having a large following and actually making it about finding cool people who could be a part of your tribe online.
I know. It's, and it's crazy. I think it's a challenge like in every industry. Sometimes we think that because it's yoga, it's all spiritual and real and honest, but of course it's still a business. If you run a yoga studio or, or you're a yoga teacher, you have to earn your living too. And you have to compete a little bit in this market. There's a lot of competition. And I actually had one yoga teacher from the US. She told me that when she was applying for teacher jobs, that the studio asked her how many social media followers she has. And she was like, that doesn't make me a good teacher, So she was really shocked. She had a lot of followers because she's beautiful and young and has a great Instagram account with great inspiring pictures. But of course, that doesn't make her a great yoga teacher. But then again, the yoga studio, they're just scared and they just think maybe that yoga teachers who have a big following, they're going to be able to bring in more students. So, that's why they would do it, because they're scared and they have to run a business and they have to fill up the classes. Otherwise, they have to shut down. So I don't think there's always like a bad intention behind it. It's just like people don't know enough about it. And it's not only the number of followers that's important. It's actually the least important thing in social media. It's the engagement that counts. So having real followers and having having them interacting and engaging with your content and commenting and liking. So that's so much more worth. A way to track that is what I teach in my social media course is not to focus on numbers and on your social media followers, but to track your growth. So track like from month to month how your social media followers grew, how they developed. And that way you can see it for yourself. So, because everybody's starting from a different point. So if you just look at the numbers, you're automatically probably going to get caught up in this comparison game. So always comparing yourself to other people who are more popular and more famous. But, they might have had that Instagram account for 5 years. So, of course, they would have more followers. But if your account is, if you check like your growth and you see that your account is growing by, 20% each month, that's amazing. Celebrate that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really good point.
So, and then what you can also do is to track your engagement rate. Like have a look at how many comments and likes do you get per post, and look at that like from month to month. Is it going up? Is it going down? Which posts get the most engagement? So you maybe should do more of that. And that can also help you to grow your account. Just look a little bit deeper into your numbers than just like the follower numbers.
Yeah, I think that's super, super important. I'm glad that you brought that up. It's always nice to see that your account is growing too when you're making an effort to really like post authentically and post regularly, and you're kind of making that commitment to your social media account.
Yeah, but you probably know how it is. You always think you should do more and you're not doing enough.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, I can relate to that. Like, it's been 2 days. I should post. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't have anything to say.
And
I should do more. I shouldn't be watching TV. I should be doing something for my business.
Yeah. And I teach these processes of like doing this once a week and then just doing like every day, have like 10, 15 minutes, just engaging with your followers. And, of course I try to practice what I teach, walk the walk. But there are definitely times where it gets more challenging, where I fall off the wagon, and I try not to fret about it. It's like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good attitude to come at it with. And then you kind of mentioned it. I know we've been talking a little bit about your course kind of off the interview. Can you share a little bit about, I guess, one, what your new course is about, and then two, a little bit about the process around course making?
Yes, sure. So, I have two online courses now, but my main online course that I'm going to open up again in May. So the course is going to teach you how to create a beautiful website, how to take your blog to the next level. So I really recommend blogging for every yoga teacher, especially if you want to grow your traffic to your website, how to do social media, how to grow your email list, and then how to monetize your online biz and start making money online.
Yeah, I love that. I think that making money online is so important.
I know. And a lot of people think that it's like this mythical secret and it's super difficult making money online, but it's not. So especially when you're a yoga teacher, yoga studio, and you already have an audience. So you already have people who trust you, you already have customers and clients who want to hear from you. So you have the chance to offer them something that they really need that can help them. So it's not about selling them stuff that they don't need. That's not going to work. It's not about making a quick buck. It's really about adding more value. And then, of course, a lot of yoga teachers, they are selling time for money. So, and that's a super hard business. I mean, so what when you become sick or you have to take time off to care for a family member or you get a baby or you want to travel? So, and then you can't scale it. So you have only so many hours in the day. So there's not much you can do to increase your income just by teaching classes. And then adding some online income can give you so much more freedom here and make your life much easier. And that's why I'm so passionate about it and teaching yoga teachers or other entrepreneurs how to do that. So I really believe that it can change lives.
Yeah. And so if anyone's listening and they're like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'd like to make, some passive income before I have my next baby, or, I'd like to make income online so that I can travel or whatnot. What are some of the biggest ways that you see yoga teachers making money online?
There's so many possibilities. I think what you see sometimes now, it's, a lot of people start with ebooks because they're quite easy to produce and they probably mostly don't sell for a high price point, but it's a good way to start, I think, to get something out there. Then, of course, you can do online videos. So, when you're great teachers and you have the chance to do online video, you get like in one of these big platforms like Cody or My Yoga Online, that's great, but not everybody has that opportunity. So you could also start sharing online videos for free, and then you can offer them a few classes that people can buy and then download. So a lot of people don't want to have to stream a video all the time, so they would pay for the convenience of having a video that they can watch offline whenever they want. So that would be an added value you could offer to your students. You could do physical products, of course, like bags for yoga mats or jewelry that you can sell online. You could sell meditation audio files. People love that, to listen to audio files, just listen to a guided meditation. And then, of course, online courses. I think that's going to become so big as well in the yoga world. So just like an online course, I think here the most important thing is to really, really know your audience. So you really need to know what are they struggling with and what can you offer them to help them. So what do they really want to buy? What they are ready for to spend money on? Because otherwise you're just putting something out there. Nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things about, I think, creating an online business is, it's almost like baseball, if you wanted to like metaphorically do it. It's like you're standing at the plate and somebody's like lobbing balls at you and you're like trying to hit them, but you never really know when you're going to get it.
Okay. I'm from Germany. I don't know anything about baseball.
Bad metaphor. I just swung and missed.
I think I've been to one baseball game in my life.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is not the most exciting sport. I was just thinking about, I guess so, to not metaphorically say it, it's like you really need to understand exactly what your audience needs, because otherwise you're spending time creating things and you're like, yes, somebody's going to buy this, and then you release it and it's like, oh, there's actually not a need for this in the market, or, you know, it's not on the right platform, or it's not being marketed correctly, and there's all these reasons that you can kind of not be successful with that.
I know, yes. So I'm doing a challenge in the next weeks, how to come up with the idea for your first digital product. So to make this a really easy process. So it's going to be 5 days, and there you're going to learn how to come up with an idea for a product idea that your students really want to buy from you, how to validate your idea, how to define your offer, decide on the format, and plan your next steps. So I'm so excited about that already. I can't wait to hear all the ideas and like from all those different people getting together and sharing their ideas and inspiring everyone and getting inspiration. So I think it's going to be awesome.
So there'll be a link in the show notes, and then at the end of the episode, stay tuned for that link. I'll make sure that gets in here.
Okay.
Awesome. And then, so another thing that I wanted to talk about with you that you kind of mentioned beforehand when we were planning is having different income streams. So for yoga teachers, how important do you feel like that is?
If you take your teaching career serious and as a business and you want to make it your full-time income, it's super important. So it's like the most important thing of your business after you've started teaching. And I think when you're just starting out and it's more about getting practice teaching, so you focus on that. You just want to go out there and teach as many classes as possible. But I think after a while, you have to think about times when you're not going to be able to get in front of the class, or when you get older, or when you get sick, or when you have family crisis. So that's where different income streams come in and why they're so important.
And so do you feel like that can be things, like I've talked to different people on the podcast about being sort of like quote unquote multi-passionate. So kind of coupling a couple different things that you're passionate about. Like if you're a yoga teacher who's also passionate about nutrition, maybe adding a nutrition element to your business. Do you feel like it's that type of stuff that you're talking about, or like having a second job on the side?
No. I mean, there can be something like there are a lot of yoga teachers now who become life coaches as well, or do coaching or nutrition coaching. But if you do the same thing as in your yoga career, that you're selling time for money, that's not really what I mean. That's not going to help you so much in getting more. I don't really like the word passive income, because it's never really passive.
Yeah,
but if you
so
true. But if you have something that you sell, you sell a product and you don't sell a service, so which means you can scale it, and that's I think what you should try to add to your income streams. So it can be a book, it can be products that you sell, it can be an online course, it can be audio files. Any of that you develop like one time. So it's a product that you sell, and then you can sell it as many times as possible.
Right. Okay. So it kind of ties back to what we were talking about before, where there's, different ways that you can make money online, and then kind of diversifying yourself a little bit so that you have income coming in different ways. So if you end up getting injured while teaching, it's not like you're just in a really bad position where you have no money and no income coming in.
Yeah. And if also you have income streams also you can add is like workshops or trainings. So they are important to consider as well. And then it's what you're passionate about. So if you really enjoy nutrition and it's like you're suddenly getting super interested in that, I think it's a great addition to yoga. So, but what I would recommend, especially in the online world, is to niche down. So don't have a website where you cover everything. Like you offer, I don't know, tarot card readings and Reiki sessions, and then you blog about nutrition, and then you also have like a beginner yoga classes and advanced handstand lessons. You know what I mean? Like trying to do everything, which is, I totally understand if somebody is interested in everything. I mean, like we are all people who have a lot of interest, but in the online world, especially if you're starting out, it really pays to niche down. So it will make it easier for people to find you on Google or on social media and to stay connected to you as well, because then you get the chance to stand out as an authority on your chosen subject. So, and that makes it easier for people to trust you, to connect with you, to revisit your page, because they know they're going to find that content, for example, that they're looking for on that special topic.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so if somebody has a couple different things, but maybe they're not completely related, but they only like own one URL or they only have one website, what do you kind of recommend for that type of situation?
Oh, you just try to make it work. It's not ideal, but there are a lot of examples of people who still make it work. So there are, for example, lifestyle bloggers who also sell online courses about blogging, and it works, or post about blogging. So it's more difficult though, especially when you're starting out. When you have a blog that covers a lot of topic and that's super successful, it's probably been around a while. So
yeah.
But I do it too. Like, for example, on Pinterest, at the moment, I still have only one Pinterest account for Happy Yoga Travels, where I also post my Happy Yoga marketing posts. And it's not ideal, but at the same time, I'm thinking, do I really have the time at the moment to focus or to put the effort into building up a second Pinterest account? And I love Pinterest, and it brings me a lot of traffic. It's amazing. So I know it's worth it, but I just don't prioritize it at the moment. And it works too. So sometimes you just have to find the balance.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I've been trying to figure out with all of the different sort of things that I do in businesses that that I have. And I've thought about the same thing with Pinterest. Like my travel podcast has its own Pinterest account that's very travel specific, but most of my personal Pinterest, or a lot of it, is like kind of yoga and fitness and, health related. I was like, does MBOM really need its own Pinterest account? It's just one of those things that I think you kind of have to sit down and get clear on your intention and figure out kind of what's going to work best for you and what your time will allow for.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, I decided to create a second website like Happy Yoga Marketing and not post about marketing on Happy Yoga Travels. And I think that's going to pay out.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because their names are linked as well. So it's kind of like, and you can get to and from the websites from one another. And you're not the first person that I've talked to on the podcast who does that. There's a girl she's a graphic designer, and her business is all around branding. And she has the same thing. She has a yoga branding website or a yoga business website, and then her other design website, and they're very similar but slightly different. And I really like the idea of that. It's like very clear for people from different markets who are coming for different things what's going on. It just very clean and organized.
Yeah, I think that's my intention. And it also helps with Google. It's really important for your search engine optimization results.
Yeah, definitely.
At least that's what I learned.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. That's like a whole nother monster in and of itself.
So true. Yeah.
And then I want to be mindful of your time, but I'm wondering if you can briefly talk about sort of the process of setting up your 2 online courses. Any tips you have for people who are setting up courses themselves or who are thinking about getting into that, challenges, that sort of thing?
Yes, definitely. When I did my first online course, I think the biggest mistakes I made is I think what most people do when they create their first online course is to put everything they know in there. So my recommendation would be to start smaller. So start with a smaller product. Like, doesn't have to be this $500 signature course. So start with a smaller product to really get to know the process of putting everything together and how it works and how the marketing sales process works. So something that you can sell for, I don't know, $97 or something. And it gets easier. So I think the more often you do it, so even if you start with the first product and and you try to sell it, and then you go back and try to optimize it and redo things and learn from it and ask people for feedback. That's actually what I just did today. I just sent out emails to my beta testers and sent them a survey form and asking for feedback. And it's so nice to get feedback. I love it. Like, especially if it's good feedback, of course. Mm-hmm. And then you think like you put this out there and you've been working on it alone for such a long time. And then you get people who say it's really helpful it's like, yeah. And because I didn't hear from my students for such a long time. And I was like, oh, I don't think they like the content, or maybe they already stopped the course. Maybe they think it was a waste of money. And then you get feedback that is actually totally the other way around. So that's really encouraging. And that makes me really believe in it. And I think it's the great thing about online courses is that it gives people the opportunity to learn in their own time. And of course, it's much more affordable than one-on-one coaching or consulting. So, but if you're setting up a course, start with a small product. Take your time to learn all the steps needed. So I did a course, how to do courses, that really helped me a lot. And I don't know, there are many people say, I think what's really important is to validate your idea. I think what I'm going to try with my next course is to pre-sell it before I've produced it completely.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Have you done that?
No, I've only done courses through Udemy. So, Udemy doesn't allow you to do pre-sales. You have to launch it before you get like coupons and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm working on one through Teachable right now, just because I think that it'll be better to have it on the back end of my website. The two courses I've done are like yoga teaching courses. So I actually have sort of that situation that you were talking about earlier where the two courses are on MBOM's website because my personal website is such a mishmash of my life. And I'm like, I really need like another website to sell these courses through, or I need to redo my personal website. But right now it just seems easiest to keep them on MBOM.
Yeah, that doesn't really belong there.
Yeah, it's not like yoga for beginners. Like nobody who's coming to MBOM is probably a beginner for yoga. Maybe there will be a sale there if somebody's like, oh yeah, I could buy this for my cousin, or, if somebody stumbles upon it by accident, but it's not like the courses aren't geared towards the same audience that MBOM is. I never developed them for that. But then it's like I created them and wanted to put them somewhere and had nowhere to put them.
Yeah, but it's not only about having the website. It's what's even more important is having the audience. So especially if you want to sell the course yourself, which I recommend actually.
Yeah.
So, because you just have more control in the long term about it, especially you really own your audience, so you own the email addresses, you can contact them again and again, and it's just going to grow, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a huge pro.
Yeah, but the website is only like one piece of the puzzle. So, what's really, really important is your email list. So really growing your audience. So if you start with a website, then you need some content. So either a blog or a yoga podcast, not about marketing, but about yoga for beginners, or videos, free videos that you put out every week, or I don't know, like tons of possibilities, but you would need some content to grow your audience. So you would be able to sell the course to.
Yeah, definitely. I think that one of my biggest struggles is that I'm interested in so many areas. I was talking to one girl who's on the podcast who does a whole bunch of different stuff. And I was like, thank God I'm not the only one. She's like, I just can't like figure out what to cut out in my life. I'm like, I know. I like teaching. I like the business side. I love travel. I love my travel podcast. I'm like, I don't know. I need to narrow it down, but I just like them all so much.
It's challenging. It's definitely difficult. You can probably still make it work, but in the long term, I probably would recommend to set up a different business for that.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're really passionate about doing those yoga videos, of course.
Yeah, for sure. And so you kind of touched on it briefly, and this will be my last question for you. Your newsletters I know are so important, and I think they're kind of becoming one of those numbers that can be really beneficial. Like people are interested in, how many people do you have on your mailing list? And it's such a great way to connect with your audience, especially if you are going to sell something like a book or a course. Do you have a couple of tips for growing a mailing list?
Yes. When I have a blog post, I very often, not always, I should do it always, but very often I add a little content upgrade. So, for example, I have one blog post on Happy Yoga Travel about a yin yoga sequence. And then you can enter your email and get the playlist. So, and that is actually super successful in Pinterest. So I get like hundreds of visitors a day from Pinterest, only for that one blog post.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then people sign up to get the playlist. So that works really well. And on my marketing website, as well. So, I just try to add, for example, I wrote a blog post about Instagram hashtags and how to use them. And then I added content upgrades, so 100 hashtags for yoga teachers or for yogis, and people leave their email address to get that. So something that's valuable, something that people can use right away, and that's connected to the content. So many people already have an ebook or a yoga video that they offer for people to sign up for their newsletter. So that's what most people have on their homepage or their start page. So that's one way that you should definitely have. But what works even better for me now is this content upgrade connected to a blog post.
Okay.
Because I think like a freebie, like an ebook, it's not really special anymore. Everybody offering an ebook, like people are like, how many ebooks do you really want to have and read? So, and you're not really sure how much value it's going to give you immediately. But if you come to a blog post and you read this blog post, so you're really interested in this topic, and then you are offered something that deepens this or that adds something to that post. So that's going to be immediately more valuable. So, and interesting for people to sign up to.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that idea. I think too, you go to websites now and it's like, sign up and get my free ebook. And for me, that's a reminder of how, non-unique my sign up process is as well, because that's what I do also. And I think that if you're providing something that's interesting, people will sign up. But I love the idea of offering different things to encourage people to sign up.
I like to offer, free valuable content as much as possible, because I think you really have to earn the right to promote to your audience as well. So you can't just go there and tell, hey, buy from me or buy my product or so I really want to offer as much valuable advice to my audience as possible.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a really good way to think about that, because people giving their email addresses, it's kind of sacred in a way. Like, we can all relate to the fact that we get so many emails. And when I choose to sign up for a mailing list, it's because I'm genuinely interested in that person. And then it's, everything that you send out to your audience, you have to think about, are they going to get value out of this? Are they going to appreciate this? Is it something that, is worth their time to read and that sort of thing? So yeah, I love that idea.
And I know that I think Amy Porterfield does it in her podcast. She always adds or very often adds something like a cheat sheet or a checklist or some templates that people have to sign up, obviously, to get, but they're connected to the podcast.
Okay, cool. I like that idea.
So you always have a link in the show notes. Yes. So it's like connected to that special episode.
Amazing. Do you have any other tips that you want to share with people listening, the yoga teachers out there that are tuning in for this?
I think the most important thing is just to get started and leave all these beliefs that you're not able to do this, or that you don't know anything about marketing, or that you're not techie behind. And just try to do your best and educate yourself. And because it's such a big, big part of your business. So when you take your yoga business serious, online marketing and all this digital world is a big part of it. I mean, of course, there are still yoga teachers who don't have a website and who've been teaching for years and years and are successful, of course. But it's the minority these days. And it's not where the future is. So I think there's just no way around. And I think there's also no reason at all to be overwhelmed or to be scared, because there's so much amazing advice available online. Obviously from me, from your podcast, so many other great websites and blogs and Facebook groups where you can get help and advice. And you just have to go and do it step by step. So you start with your website, then you add your social media profiles, then you start growing your email list, and then you start maybe even to add some digital products. So you just don't have to do everything at once, but you have to get started.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's such a good piece of advice, and I think a great place to end this. Where can people go to learn more about you?
My website is happyyogamarketing.com. And yeah, that's where you find all information.
Okay, great. And then your Happy Yoga Travels on Instagram, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. You're just a wealth of knowledge. I feel like I've learned so much from you every time that I've talked to you. And like I told you before, I love getting your newsletters and your updates because they're just so full of good information.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Really does.
Yeah, of course. Amazing. Thank you.
But thanks for having me, and it was a pleasure. I'm so excited to listen to this podcast when it comes out. I can't wait.
All right. I hope that everyone enjoyed that episode of the podcast as much as I did. I had so much fun chatting with Susanne, and as always, learning so much from her. And so that link for the challenge that we mentioned during the show is www.happyyogamarketing.com/challenge 2017 / Once again, happyyogamarketing.com /challenge 2017 / The challenge is going to be kicking off May 15th, and it's going to be super, super fun to just grow your business, work on an aspect that you've been talking about for a long time. And I'll be there. Susanne will be there. And it's going to be a super, super great way to just expand your business and learn something new. Hopefully you join us. It's completely free. And the link is going to be in the description for the show, as well as up on the show notes at www.mbomyoga.com. And as always, you can find me on social media at Mastering the Business of Yoga, and sign up for the regular newsletter at www.mbomyoga.com /newsletter. As always, thanks so much for listening, and namaste.